right, too. So there's William Cow right there on the left. The match we're going to be bringing you is, as you can see, Maverick v. Maverick.
Yeah, and sorry to bring you guys a mirror match here in the quarterfinals, but you know the options here in the quarters were pretty limited. It was either going to be a blue-white Stoneforge mirror,
Yep.
a Maverick mirror,
Yep.
Dredge against Zoo,
Right.
or
the best one.
the worst match to cover in the history of Magical the Gathering cards, Enchantress against High Tide.
Yep. Two decks that don't care what the opponent is doing. And High Tide will destroy that Enchantress deck, won't it?
Oh yeah, it'd be so far from close. All right, so David wins the die roll and has a turn 1 Noble Hierarch. William, with a Caracas on turn 1, has a Mom. Pretty nice start.
Yeah. Both 1-drops that are really crucial. Both play 4 of each.
Oh, David, missing his second land drop, does, however, have a Wasteland and a Swords to Plowshares to put William on no permanents in play.
Pretty good.
Yeah, definitely not bad. But no second land drop could be bad for him. If William is able to get a white source and Swords to Plowshares that Noble Hierarch, he's going to put David in a pretty awkward spot.
Yeah, definitely. Now, just to give you guys a quick rundown of the deck list while Jake's doing play-by-play here, David Winsauer is straight green-white. He doesn't have any Punishing Fires, he doesn't have any Grove of the Burn Willows, no Rocks War Monks, nothing like that, only green-white cards. Silhana Ledgewalker, Scavenging Ooze, Gaddock Teeg, the usual suspects. William Cow, on the other hand, of course, we saw earlier, Punishing Fire. He has 3 Punishing Fire, 2 Grove of the Burn Willows, and Rocks Warmonk and Geist of St. Traft. So those are the major differences in the main deck.
David with a Thalia here on turn 3. Yep. Still no second land for David.
Wow. And Thalia is a 2-of in this deck. Pretty interesting card for Legacy. We haven't really seen it break out yet.
Yeah, and Thalia, pretty interesting when you're missing land drops. Thalia can be pretty painful sometimes.
It can. The only spells in David Winsauer's deck, though, 4 Swords, 4 Green Sun Zenith, 1 Jite, 1 Fire Ice, 1 Feast Famine. So,
yeah, so not a lot of non-creature spells for him.
Right.
Thalia not too negative. Definitely punishes William more than it punishes David, but that might not be true if William's hitting his land drops and David is not.
Yeah, exactly. David Winsauer wants a body a little bigger than Thalia in this matchup.
William, with a Misty Rainforest here, chooses to go and get a Tropical Island.
Yep. Not a liability against David like it was against the Merfolk player we saw earlier.
And he has a Gaddock Teeg for his turn 3 play.
Yep.
Not really the card he wants to be casting here.
Nope, that does absolutely nothing.
It turns off his opponent's Green Sun Zenith.
But also turns off his.
Yeah.
So pretty much just a bear in this matchup.
Going to attack for 3, David Winsauer, putting William down to 15 here. Yep. Plays a Scavenging Ooze post-combat.
Pretty powerful card in this matchup.
Definitely. You get really big really quick.
Yep, also takes out the lands in the opposing graveyard, neutering the Knight of the Reliquary.
William, missing an opportunity where he can get in for a free 2 points. Gaddock Teeg not going to do much on defense here.
Yep.
So going to pick up those 2 points of damage. Virtually no cost now.
Exactly. He knows that that Teeg won't be doing any blocking.
And a Rocks Warmonk, and you know that's
pretty good card.
Pretty good right here.
Yeah.
And you know William, when I spoke to him earlier today, he told me he's never really played Legacy.
Really?
And
he was
really looking at
it.
all the decks, and he thought to himself, well, I like this Maverick deck. This deck plays similarly to the decks that I enjoy playing in other formats, but I think Rocks Warmonk's really good right now. It's really good against these Rug Delver decks. It's really good against the other Maverick decks. So we wanted to play Rocks Warmonk, so we just splashed blue in his Punishing Fire version of Maverick and put Rocks Warmonk in the deck.
And it's so easy
awesome
to do, yeah. Not much cost. Winsauer finally found his second land, a Savannah. Used it to play was that a Bird of Paradise?
I believe it was a Bird of Paradise.
It's not a card you usually see in Legacy.
No, definitely not.
But also William Cow has 2 Geist of St. Traft. So splashing blue for Rocks Warmonk, 2 Geist, and then of course in the sideboard he has a few options too, like those Spell Pierces we saw earlier.
And a Noble Hierarch is going to give a Rocks Warmonk Exalted, which makes it big enough where it's favorable for him to send that into the red zone.
Yep.
And that's going to knock David down to 14 here and bring William up to 19.
Yeah, and then a Wasteland knocks David Winsauer back down to 3 mana sources.
Yeah, and that's definitely relevant.
Yeah, it really is. That Green Sun Zenith in David Winsauer's hand will not be able to be cast because of that Gaddock Teague. Crashes
Thalia.
back. Yep. 3 damage from Thalia.
Yep.
Legend
and a
Rule.
Gaddock Teague. Legend ruling away the Gaddock Teagues, and William's definitely happy to see that that's the best that David can muster on this turn.
Yeah. Interesting that both players drew their 1 of Gaddock Teague.
Yep. Now a Green Sun post-combat. David reveals why he wanted to get rid of that.
Yep.
Just
X
Green
equals 0.
Sunning for... Yep. Green Sunning for 0. Attempting to find a Dryad Arbor.
I'm not sure if that's going to work because I think it costs 1 more because of Thalia. I don't think that's a legal play.
Yeah.
So he'll untap the bird. So passes right back to William. And every turn that William gets to attack with that Rock's Warmonk, the game gets a little further out of reach for David.
Yeah, and I mean, David does have board position here, and the Scavenging Ooze, can get really, really big here.
Yeah, that can turn into a 4/4 on command, but wow.
Yeah.
Vitae. Uh-oh.
That matters a lot.
That will knock David Winsauer again back down to 1 land. Yeah, he packs it in. He can't beat that.
Yeah. Really well played by William. William set that game up pretty nicely. The cards kind of played themselves, but pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely took advantage of David Winsauer's little mana troubles there. He also realized that the Gaddock Teague was pretty valuable, didn't send it into the red zone after that first time.
Yeah, post-sideboard, William has access to a Mazavith, which he's definitely going to bring in, an extra Rock's Warmonk. And do you bring in Sylvan Library here?
I definitely would, yeah, especially if your plan's Rock's Warmonk.
Yeah. Now, back to us.
Do we maybe have some premium to give away?
Oh, I think we may.
I think we do.
Now, all day today, we've been talking, I picked a player to win the tournament, William Cow, but, Zach picked a card.
1 card.
Just 1 card. And I'd like to know what that card is. We've been talking about it all day.
Yeah. So if you forget, maybe you can check back on my Twitter feed if you need some reminder. I tweeted that before the weekend even started, so check that out. Just make sure you use the hashtag SCGPremium.
Yeah,
that's what you have to include.
Tweet the card name that you think we're talking about to hashtag SCG Premium, and you'll get a chance at 3 free months of Star City Premium. Yeah. If you already have a premium account, then we'll just tack 3 months on for you. If you do not, you'll just make an account, and we'll give you 3 free months.
Exactly.
Pretty exciting stuff. So in this spare time we have in between the next game, Doug Cosby on Twitter wants to know how exactly the High Tide combo works. That's another deck that's in top 8 right now. It's on the other end of the bracket. Almost certainly going to advance to the semifinals. Yes. So there would have to be a huge upset
unless
for that
something
to not happen.
Very strange happens.
Yeah, something extremely, extremely strange would have to happen. So the High Tide deck, what it does is you get to around some number of islands in play.
4 usually.
Usually 4. You can do it with 3. It's difficult though.
Yep.
And then you play a High Tide. All your islands make extra mana. You continue. I said it would be in the semifinals. Yep. So you High Tide up, so all of your islands produce tons of blue mana. Then you have cards like Candelabra of Taunos and Turnabout, which will untap those islands, so you can tap them again, producing arbitrarily large amounts of mana. Eventually you can cast a Time Spiral, which will generate you a huge amount of mana and draw you a new hand of 7 cards.
Not bad, not bad.
Because you're just going off, you have cards like Meditate, where you can just pay 3 mana and draw 4 cards. You're not even going to give your opponent another turn.
Cunning Wish also.
So Cunning Wish can find more copies of
toolbox.
Turnabout. Yep. It can find a Brain Freeze to mill your opponent.
A Counterspell, another Meditate, anything. It's a really versatile deck.
And eventually you just produce enough mana where you just cast a Blue Sun Zenith and
deck your opponent
all in 1 turn. We saw that one of his opponents actually had Eldrazi in his deck, so he was unable to go for the Brain Freeze plan, but very easily he just produced 70 mana and cast a Blue Sun Zenith targeting his opponent.
Just a calm 70 mana.
His opponent was decked.
Yeah. Getting back to the match, one pretty interesting thing is the Stony Silence. They both have access to Stony Silence, and it might be an interesting little game. Who keeps in their equipment package? Who takes it out? Do you think they'll both just keep it in?
Probably.
Yeah, I think so too. It'll be interesting to see if they hedge with Stony Silence because if the opposing player has equipment and they don't, Stony Silence is very good.
Definitely. I feel like You know, Scrib Ranger actually quite good against the War Monks.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Pro blue.
Blocks all day.
Gain no life. The Enlightened Tutor package probably won't be coming in for either player. The things to Enlightened Tutor for just aren't really too impressive. Enlightened Tutor for Wheel of Sun and Moon, not going to really do it. Cop Red? No, don't think so. Tower of the Magistrate, David Winsauer does have access to that one post-board, so he'll definitely bring that in. That'll knock off opposing equipment. If you're unfamiliar with it, it's a land. It taps for colorless, 2-tap, target creature gains protection from artifacts until end of turn. So use it on a creature with a sword, and the sword gets too hot for him to use, it falls off.
Yep, use it on a germ carrying a Battle Skull.
Ooh,
and
that's pretty good too.
That germ just dies.
That germ dies to state-based effects.
Very true.
So yeah, pretty much both these decks are not going to change much between the sideboard and the main deck, just some subtle little tweaks. That's it. Maybe Crucible of Worlds for William Cow, rebuy Wasteland, rebuy Dryad Arbor, Horizon Canopy.
That doesn't seem too bad.
No.
Also, a good way to protect your Grove of the Burnwells from Wastelands.
That too. Grove Punishing Fire, if the game goes really long, will all but lock it up for William Cow.
The fact that he has access to that and David does not.
Right, that's huge.
Pretty huge. David playing the 2-color version of Maverick.
Yeah.
Something kind of the old school version of the deck.
Exactly. William Cow playing 4-color.
Has 4 colors. Kind of brought it to a whole new level there.
You can really do anything in Legacy. You can splash any color you want. You can play any amount of colors. Of course, it costs you something in your mana base, but not that much. So who do you give the edge to here? William Cow or David Winsauer?
I'd say William.
Really, just...
Oh, well, on the deck list, Elspeth's pretty good.
Yeah. David Winsauer has access to 2 Elspeth.
Brings it into the air.
Yeah. Especially, say, on something carrying a sword. That's pretty good.
Yeah, definitely really good.
I mean, obviously, William Cow favored, especially after he wins game 1, but pre-sideboard, I probably would have given it to David Winsauer. So obviously, that game didn't quite turn out that way.
No, I mean, I've got my horse here. This is my card. My card pick was an actually human instead of a card.
We know exactly who you're rooting for. So does that mean I should root for David Winsauer to simply deny you your pick? I don't think I'm going to be. I don't think so. I think
I'm not rooting against David Winsauer either. I'd be happy to see him win the tournament.
But not as happy as William Cow, of course.
Well, because then I would win the game.
I know. It's all about the game. Believe me, we're gamers. We know. The audience knows. I know. Gotta win the game. Here the players are shuffling up. Looks like they're just about ready. In serious mode, huh? They want to win. Both of them.
Very wise move of William there that you probably noticed. When he's shuffling his opponent's deck, he's looking away.
Yeah.
That's something I like to either just look directly at my opponent when I'm shuffling their deck or to look away. I get pretty disconcerted when my opponent is looking at my deck while shuffling it, and a lot of the time I'll just call a judge on them immediately.
Right.
And you just want people to know, like, no funny business.
It's sort of a gray area because sometimes they're not looking at your deck, they're just looking at the table, and you can never really know, so people don't want to offend their opponents, but really, you shouldn't even take any chances.
Yeah. So Savannah, fetched up by an Arid Mesa there by David Winsauer, and he's got a turn 1 Noble Hierarch again. Definitely the optimal start for this deck.
Of course. Powers out the Green Suns, powers out the equipment even faster. Some more mana.
William matches with a Savannah and a Noble Hierarch of his own. Another Savannah from David, and a Knight of the Reliquary on turn 2. That's a big game.
Yeah, that is. Already that Knight is a 3/3, unable to be burned down by Punishing Fire. Can be Swords to Plowshares, but
and that's going to be pretty necessary.
Yeah, and an active Knight on the other side of the table is huge.
Active Knight on the other side of the table is extremely difficult to beat.
Yeah. David Winsauer also has access to a Gaia's Cradle. So that'll make even more
interesting.
mana.
He can kind of explode on mana with that.
Yeah,
Knight then.
He can.
Use that Knight to, you can tap a mana. Normally you'd use your Knight to produce 1 extra mana by just tapping the mana and then sacrificing and getting an untapped one. But if you have Gaia's Cradle and multiple creatures in play, you can really explode.
Yeah. On turn 3.
Very true.
Which we're probably about to see here. Unless William also has a Swords to Plowshares to go with that Stoneforge Mystic, fetching up Feast and Famine.
And that'd be a pretty good draw if he did.
Yeah, for sure. But no.
No, he does not.
Also, David Winsauer, access to 4 Wasteland. William Cow, only 3.
David, tapping the Savannah for mana, then searching for another Wasteland, putting William on 0 lands. I like that play.
Yeah, seems really great, especially if your opponent has a Stoneforge Mystic. You just want to constrain the mana as much as possible, grow your Knight.
Yeah, now his Knight's a 5/5.
6/6 even.
Oh, yeah, 6/6.
On Thalia. So also, I'm a little surprised to see Thalia in his deck after sideboarding.
Yeah.
Though, like
As
we were
am I.
talking about, he doesn't have much to actually bring in.
And, it's really good against the Punishing Fire engine. The Punishing Fire will still be able to, shoot down little guys, but it's really unlikely it's going to be able to rebuy the Punishing Fire and cast them on the same turn.
Right, with Thalia out, unlikely.
Thalia, it's just about impossible. So he's got to aim the Punishing Fire at the Thalia itself, and it's going to protect his Knights and things like that. I can see keeping it in.
Right. So William Cal only has a Savannah. Feast and Famine at the ready, just to flash into play at a moment's notice. So by fetching Feast and Famine, does that mean he has Batterskull in his hand?
It must, right?
I am not
Maybe
sure.
not. Maybe. I mean, perhaps Feast and Famine is just better here.
Yeah,
And
it might
I can
be.
definitely see that.
But David Winsauer has to sort of be wary of that possibility. I don't expect to see him attack with the Thalia here. Not if he also attacks with the Knight.
Certainly not. Ooh, and he naturally drew the Ace Cradle. So,
Wow.
able to Green Sun Zenith for 3, or for 2.
I wonder if David Winsauer meant to Green Sun Zenith for 3.
Perhaps. Last game he was,
Nope, Kazali Pride Mage.
and that's, David on the play this game.
Yeah, this is just an awesome draw from David
Thrashed
Winsauer. This is the power
William
of turn
Cow.
2 Knight of the Reliquary.
Yeah. Williams' deck also equipped to cast turn 2 Knight of the Reliquary, but
Yep.
did not have this game, and
Yeah, 2 sort of blowouts, huh? I mean, I'm not saying William Cow's out of this game, but it's going to take something pretty spectacular for him to get back into it.
he's pretty out of this game at this point.
He needs a lot of Swords to Plowshares really quickly.
Very true.
Probably 2 red off the top would do it.
Ooh, and David sends the boat. That's a little odd to me. I mean, I would think William has Batterskull in his hand if he made that play.
Yeah, he has the Kozali Pride Mage, though, just in case,
Yeah.
with that non-summoning Sick Noble.
William opting not to put an equipment in play and just, punch it in.
Scoops his 3 permanents. So 2 really quick games. David Winsauer 1, William Cow 1. William Cow, though, will be on the play for Game 3.
Yeah,
Will be pretty important in this Maverick mirror.
definitely. And you think William's going to bring in that Crucible?
I think you should.
I think you're right.
I think you will too. He has a good number of cards to take out. He can take out Gaddock Teague. A lot of other cards just aren't that impressive. He can take out one of the equipment, whichever he thinks is worse.
And it's hard to take out
Geist
equipment here.
Yeah. Geist of St. Traft. Probably only okay in this matchup. A lot of creatures. A lot of times Geist would just be attacking into a ground creature, though, with an equipment. Geist is pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, if you can assemble Feast and Famine Geist, that's just about it.
Right, the game's just about
But
over there. That's hard to do.
hard to do.
If you're going to connect with a Feast and Famine, it doesn't really matter what creature it's on. So I think Geist is one of the weakest links in William Cow's deck right now.
I think you're right.
I expect him to take out... he didn't take out Gaddock Teague for Game 2, correct? Did we see that in his hand Game 2?
No, I don't.
Or was that a different card?
I'm pretty sure that was a different card.
Okay, so...
I don't know, though. Maybe. I mean, he saw his opponent's deck list.
Right, he
Perhaps
knows
he
Gaddock
left it
Teague.
in and took out his Green Sun Zeniths. I wouldn't do that, though.
No, I think if anything, it's the other way around. So I expect William to have taken out 2 Geist of St. Traft, 1 Gaddock Teague, set it in Rock's Warmonk, Scavenging Ooze, and probably something like the Crucible or the Sylvan Library. Everything else is pretty non-negotiable.
I think having 1 maze is fine.
1 Maze? Oh yeah,
I'd
definitely.
definitely bring that in.
He could probably make a swap for a Maze. maybe one of the maybe one of the lackluster equipment, although they're all pretty good. Feast and Famine Pro Green, Better Skull, just equipped to a giant knight, win every night war. Umezawa's GT, obviously.
Yeah.
Never taking out the GT. Yeah.
Not in this matchup. No way. No.
Speaking of GT, what were they thinking?
That card is so insane. All right, so we have some news from other matches in the top 8. Zach Tyree
playing Dredge. Yeah.
Wins 2-0
against Zoo. Pretty quick and convincing fashion, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
I thought that matchup was a little closer. Zoo has a lot of tricks it can pull, especially to interact with Bridge from Below versus non-wary opponents. Say burning your own creature in response to a Dread return, something like that. Well, Drew Levin thinks that in a Maverick mirror, GTA is better than Sword of Feast and Famine, which is better than Batterskull. That seems pretty reasonable to me.
Seems reasonable to me as well.
Late game Batterskull definitely wins wars. Tower of the Magistrate in David Winsauer's deck, though, prevents that.
So Will has a turn 1 Mother of Runes here off of Savannah, which he picked up with a Misty Rainforest.
Yep.
Now, if David doesn't have the removal spell for Mom right away, that card's going to be really good in this matchup.
Yeah, definitely. Just permanent protection. And just to let you guys know, it is you control. So William Cal cannot target his opponent's creatures with Mother Runes. So Will passes the turn to David, who has a fetch land. That'll grab a green source, and he'll play a Noble Hierarch.
Or, I mean, if he has the Swords to Plowshares here, I think he swords the Mom.
Right. I just saw the Hierarch in the front of his hand, so we'll see which one it is.
Yeah, and he does go with a Hierarch. So it looks like he does not have an answer to that Mother of Runes.
Yep. Just real quick, guys, looking on Twitter, make sure you use the hashtag SCG Premium when you're tweeting in. It's not just enough to @SCG Live us.
Yes.
William Cow using another fetch land, dropping to 18.
And probably going to grab a drop here.
Yep.
And that's exactly what he does. It looked like he had another Mom in his hand.
Wow. Mother Runes only get better in multiples.
Definitely true.
Ooh,
Sylvan Library.
That's
I'm happy he brought it in.
Pretty big game right
That's
there.
a really big game.
The ability to draw extra cards for only 4 life in a matchup where the life total often doesn't matter is huge.
Ooh, Solid Pride Mage. Instantly takes out the Sylvan Library, and you have to.
Yeah, exactly. David Winsauer respects the Sylvan Library as he should.
So Florida judges really like to sing.
We learned that many times this weekend.
And William, understanding the power of Mother of Runes in this matchup, casting a second one.
Yep, after wastelanding his opponent's Savannah. David Winsauer fetches up a third Savannah and plays a Knight.
Yeah, definitely not what William wanted to see there.
No, that Knight could get out of hand fast.
Because if he does not, he could be in some trouble here. Another fetch land, dropping down to 17 here.
Now, the Knight would never be able to get through damage because of those 2 Mother of Runes, but just the advantage it would gain over the course of the game.
Yeah, the amount of wastelands or cradles, things like that you're able to grab over time.
Exactly.
It's just so huge.
For example, only 2 non-Grove of the Burn Willows red sources in William Cow's deck. Only 2 Grove of the Burn Willows, too. So, for example, with David Winsauer's 4 wastelands, he could just take out all 4 red sources.
Whew,
wow.
He can get in now.
It sure can. And William Cow, look at him shuffling his cards. He knows that's big trouble.
Yeah, bad news bears for William Cow.
And we'll see how he plays this turn.
Yeah, I mean, he can use the Mother of Runes to give his Knight protection from white.
Right.
Which will allow it to get rid of that Elspeth. I think that's got to be the play here.
I think so. A trick that David Winsauer can do, he can sacrifice a Savannah to go grab a Dryad Arbor to chump block, forcing William to use the other Mother of Runes as well.
Yeah, I'd give him an opening to actually deal with that Knight if he does have the top deck swords.
Right, and actually, something pretty interesting, if William attacks, gives it pro-white, he then will not be able to use that second Mother of Runes to give it pro-green. So David Winsauer could save that Elspeth if he wanted to. The question is that land in play worth it to him?
I'd say it is.
Probably. One more turn of Elspeth, definitely worth a land. Ooh.
Geist of St. Trapped stays in.
Didn't take out Geist. It is really powerful with Mother Runes.
Pachuca bogs away. His opponent's lands in graveyard.
Yep, dropping the Knight to a 2/2.
Surprised he did that pre-combat if he's planning on applying pressure to this Elspeth here.
Right, I mean, you might as well give David the opportunity to use the Knight, but he wasn't attacking that turn. Preferring just to stay back. He's going to let Elspeth do its work. Now that Knight is a little smaller.
I mean, this game definitely looks like it's in David's favor now that there's an active Elspeth on his side of the table.
Yeah, Elspeth is so difficult to beat in any creature mirror. William Cow needs a piece of equipment pretty soon, I think. Geist, though, will provide David Winsauer with a lot of problems going long. He'll have to devote a Mother of Runes every turn to protect it. But now that that Knight is a little smaller, it's a lot less of a threat on David's side.
And William now has an active Knight of his own, which he can really use to his advantage here.
Right. Interesting to note, if the Geist ever is ambushed or blocked somehow, William Cow has a Caracas in his deck to fetch up to bounce it.
And actually, a pretty fun trick there.
Yeah. Make the Angel attack you for 4 with the Angel, and oops. Geist comes back. Sword of Feast and Famine comes down for David Winsauer.
Big game. William on his end step going to tap this Knight, sacrifice the Savannah. Let's see what he decides to go find. Fetch land.
The 1 life in this matchup shouldn't matter too much. The +1/+1 on Knight is way more important.
Definitely.
And it'll be interesting to see if David Winsauer brought in the same Pachuca bog that William did.
I think William's actually William's gonna have to grab a different land here. Yeah, can't get that with Wisteria Forest.
Pretty common mistake.
Yeah, it happens. Like you're playing Legacy, you're so used to just being able to grab whatever.
Right. Any fetch, any land.
Yeah.
Usually what you think. Savannah, and that's an upgrade over basic planes anyway.
Yeah,
so
probably better.
Yep. No reason not to at this point. Except that reason. Getting wastelanded.
Yeah, I mean, not really the end of the world.
No, not with an active Knight in play. So if William Cow had just grabbed a different fetch off that Knight, that wouldn't have mattered. Say a Windswept Heath. So if you're just joining us right now, we're in the top 8 in a Maverick Mirror. William Cow versus David Winsauer. We're deep in Game 3 right now with dueling Knights of Reliquary, Mother of Runes, and William Cow just cast his first Punishing Fire of the match. And that's going to be big if he can, if he has the time to utilize it. David Winsauer adds a mana before it dies. We'll see if he can use that. William Cow doing some quick math, trying to see how he's going to kill that Elspeth.
Yep, there's a will, there's a way.
Yep.
And he's going to need to start applying pressure to it very quickly.
Yeah, he is. It's already on 6 and creeping upward. And if he can ever ultimate it, that'll be a problem.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if William's thinking about the Dryad Arbor right now.
No, I don't think he is. Even if Dryad Arbor makes an appearance, not the end of the world, because William still has the Angel token from Geist.
Yeah.
And both the Angel and the Geist will attack Elspeth. That is lethal. Right.
And he's going to go grab the Dryad Arbor.
Yep. He'll save Elspeth's life, get one more activation out of it. Also, he could get Maze of Ith and untap that Angel token, which actually seems like a better play now that we look at it. And that's exactly what he does.
Yep, precisely what he does here.
Maze of Ith, no drawback when it's untapping an Angel token.
Not at all.
And can't give it protection from lands with Mother of Runes.
No, you cannot. So that waste the Maze of It though, not long for this world.
No, definitely not. I believe William Cow's only used one of his 3 wastelands, so he has 2 available to him. He would love to save the last one for something like a Dryad Arbor, a Crocus, or a Guy's Cradle.
I think on David's end step, William's going to be able to knight up a wasteland for that Maze of Ith, and then he'll have Punishing Fire to get rid of the Dryad Arbor.
Right. So Soldier token picks up Sword of Feast and Famine on David Winsauer's pre-combat main, and we'll see if Elspeth jumps it.
Looks like that's what's going to happen.
Yep.
And
it's like William Cow wants a Maze of Ith now.
Yep, gonna go grab his own Maze of Ith.
And his forests and plains are quickly disappearing here. He doesn't have that many to work with. Trying to decide if he needs a red source or a blue source. Sides on red.
Seems reasonable enough.
Yep. And there's that maze.
Maze of Ith doing work here.
Yeah. Well, untaps the Soldier token, deals no combat damage this turn. And that will probably be the end of David Winsauer's turn.
I would imagine so.
Can't imagine him activating Knight during his main phase.
It's not something I think either of us really foresee happening at this point.
No.
William on David's end step going to use that Grove of the Burnwills to return the Punishing Fire from his graveyard back to his hand.
Mm-hmm. And William Cow also has to keep in mind about that opposing Bajuka Bog, which is almost definitely in David Winsauer's deck.
Definitely, and I wouldn't be surprised if David grabbed that pretty soon.
Yeah. Situation's quickly getting out of hand for him. That Elspeth's being knocked down.
Yeah. Uses the Grove of the Burnwills, brings that Punishing Fire back from his graveyard.
Yep, David Winsauer up to 19. Draws for his turn.
It's going to be interesting here. What can William put together here?
That Punishing Fire definitely represents some late game inevitability.
Definitely.
I think he's just going to slowly start burning the creatures out now that he doesn't have much to do with his mana. Until, of course, he draws an equipment.
Yes.
And at which point that's going directly onto Geist of St. Draft. Which cannot be Maze of Ith, of course. Good old Hexproof, huh?
Pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
I don't like Hexproof.
Hexproof worst ability in recent memory? Or does that still go to Cascade?
I actually didn't hate Cascade, to be honest.
Well, I guess what's really to blame are those 0 mana spells. Hypergenesis, Living End.
Yeah.
And you can't blame Bloodbraid Elf you can't blame Cascade for Bloodbraid Elf. That card was just so above the curve.
Yeah, the card's so good. I loved playing that card.
What if Bloodbraid Elf was a 2/2 haste? Still be good.
Yeah. Jace may have been banned 6 months earlier.
Yeah, probably. That's a good point. So William Cow, deep in the tank on his main phase, doesn't want to mess this turn up. This is he has to basically plan his next few turns right now with that Punishing Fire. Plan exactly which lands he's going to get with that Knight of the Reliquary, when, which lands he needs to save his wastelands for, when.
Yeah, this is really complicated at this point.
Yeah. Oh, well that changes things, doesn't it? Now it looks like Knight will go grab another untapped land to produce mana. I think that might grab a Wasteland for later.
Yeah, I think it may just grab a Wasteland to get rid of that maze so that he can start getting in with Jitte.
Right.
That seems like the right play here. It's fine.
That's interesting. I might have just equipped the Jitte and attacked, let the Angel token get mazed, because he can't kill Elspeth this turn regardless. So I'm not sure I like that play. But that's the one he decided on. He'll knock Elspeth to 1 loyalty. Assuming David Winsauer doesn't want to chump block with Dryad Arbor, I see no reason for him to at this point.
It doesn't really seem very good to do that.
No, I mean, Elspeth on 3 versus Elspeth on 1. Oh, Elspeth was on 6.
1, 2.
I thought that should be on 7.
No, it took it.
Oh, it took 2. Oh, you're right. You're right.
So it was actually on 5.
Right. So Elspeth down. Yeah. That plays a lot better now that I know Elspeth's on 5 and not 7.
That makes significantly more sense to both of us.
Exactly. So David Winsauer untaps, draws, plays Misty, fetches up Savannah. And we'll see what he can do. Mother of Runes is just so powerful.
Yeah. Just really
breaks any
here.
creature mirror wide open.
It's an uncommon from Urza's Saga, for those of you unfamiliar with it, a 1/1. You can tap it to give target creature you control protection from the color of your choice until end of turn.
Yep.
Super powerful effect.
Kazali Pride Mage comes down for Winsauer. And that's awesome right now. It's exactly what he needed to stay in this match.
Yes. If he didn't have that, the
it would be done. Yeah, that would be way too deep of a hole to dig himself out of. So he knew he was playing the Pride Mage, but now he has to figure out if he wants to use that Exalted ability before he blows up the Jitte, if he wants to wait till William Cow's turn. And sacrifices Savannah. Looks like he's going to get a Wasteland. He wants to blow up that Mazavith before it can remove his Elspeth token from combat, it looks like. So Mazavith down. Interestingly, we're so deep into this game, both players only have 2 lands.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of Wastelanding going on.
Wasteland's a hell of a card.
Oh, yeah. Player's mana locked up.
Yep.
So tight.
Not sure what David Winsauer is thinking about here. I think he just needs to turn that Elspeth token sideways pretty soon.
Yeah, that's really his only play.
Yeah. At least threaten the possibility of a Swords to Plowshares. Oh, and he does have one in his hand. You can see it down there on the right, the bottom right. So once he taps that Mother of Runes out, he'll have to decide how to use the swords.
And depending on what's in William's hand, William may just use the swords pre-combat.
Wow, he really wants to get in a hit with his sword.
But William has Punishing Fire in his hand. He can just pay 1 red and return it back to his hand.
Right, I don't understand that.
Yeah.
I don't like that combat phase at all.
Okay, he takes 4 and
untaps his lands and
and then William can just return that Punishing Fire right back to his hand.
Yep. Well, that was the only way that David Winsauer would be able to cast swords and blow up the Jitte in 1 turn, but the swords didn't even do anything. It was just countered.
Yeah. I think David Winsauer is starting to figure out that he made a bit of a boo-boo that turn.
Yeah. I like the way David Winsauer played this game up until that point. I think that I don't like that.
I thought all of his Elspeth activations were correct. I thought.
Yeah, definitely. So end of turn, William Cow will return that Punishing Fire that David Winsauer discarded.
And David Winsauer spent a lot of resources making him discard a Punishing Fire, and
right, which just came right back.
Yeah.
Now, if David Winsauer somehow had the opportunity to get a Bojuka Bog to remove all those cards, that'd be one thing, but he didn't. So gives the Knight pro-white. Attacks with Geist and Knight.
And that's a lot of damage.
Yeah, that's a real lot of damage. So, David asks, how big is that knight? And it's huge. I think that was something like 7 or 8 lands in the graveyard. So 9/9 or 10/10, somewhere in that range. Enough to threaten lethal, that's for sure.
Yeah, he has, just protection from white with my things.
Play Punishing Fire, target you.
6 plus this, plus Punishing Fire targeting you. And
I can't imagine William Cow would make this attack if it wasn't lethal.
Yeah. And
there's the hand.
there's the hand.
Congratulations, William Cow.
William Cow.
Takes down a really tight Maverick Mirror. That was a really tough game.
Yeah. Game 1 kind of a blowout in William's favor. Game 2 a blowout in David's favor. Game 3 we had a good game.
Yeah. That was a ton of interaction.